This is a topic that fascinates me endlessly, and that is the idea that we can reverse engineer the kind of future that we want to have so that we can live the life we want to live. So the idea is that we have a very clear view of the future, and then we pull it apart and put it back together piece by piece to take us from where we are now towards the future that we want to have. Now, there's a couple of topics that need to be understood to do this process adequately, but I think this idea can adequately be summarized by this quote, and that is that the best way to predict the future is to invent it. So what we're effectively doing is we are imagining the kind of life that we could live, a week, a month, a year, or a lifetime from now, and then figuring out the ways that we can bring into the present all of the conditions that allow that kind of vision to manifest itself. So by doing this, we invent our own life, we invent our own future. And we have to contrast this idea against what might be considered sort of a more normative view of how we live our lives. And that is that we are on this sort of like snake-like trajectory, winding through our life, but ultimately we're on this life path. There is a single path that goes from our embryonic self in the past to our decayed and deceased self in the future. And as we move along this undulating snake of time, we see ourselves grow and develop and evolve, but always towards that fateful future. Well, the idea of reverse engineering the future plays on the idea that at any moment we can branch to any one of a number, in fact, potentially an infinite number of alternate futures. Now, this doesn't mean we can escape death necessarily, but it does mean that we get to choose the kind of life, the kind of fate we have, or at least the roller coaster ride we have along the way. Now, there are two broad constraining factors, and these are the things that we can control and the things that we can't control. If we gain the ability to recognize the things that we can control, well, we can dial these things up and we can maximize our ability to have influence over our own life. Simultaneously, if we can recognize the things that we can't control and we can distinguish between these two, then we can reduce the impact or our attachment to the things we can't control, and then we can maximally focus on the things that we can control, which oftentimes is a much larger set of influences than we might otherwise think. So there is chance and our choice. We need to maximize our choice, and we need to let go of our attachment to chance outcomes. One concept that I think is absolutely fundamental to being able to effectively reverse engineering the future is this idea of building a second brain. And a second brain basically is a complement to the brain that we already have, the organic matter that resides in our head. Effectively, the brain we have in our head is good at a few things and not so good at others. It's good at being spontaneous. It's good at being compassionate, feeling, being aware, being playful. It's not so good at storing, remembering, and holding on to the past or worrying about the future. The more that we do these latter set of things, the more we inhibit our brain's natural tendency towards play and joy and compassion and feeling. So the more we can offload the remembering, the storing, the downloads, the attachments into some sort of secondary brain, the more that we can free up the space of our primary brain, our organic brain inside our heads, to do the things that it's designed to do. So one of the best ways that we can create the kind of future that we want is to build a second brain that stores all of the information that we need and all of the tools and skills that we need in order to bring about our ideal future. And so we're going to talk more about this as time goes on. And finally, if we're going to bring about our ideal life, we need to be organized and we need to know how to be productive, which means we need to know how to get shit done. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to show you an organization and productivity system based around the second brain. But the thing is, if we are not careful, we can turn our gains from organization into more things to be productive about. That means more chores, more to-do lists, and more things that weigh down our original brain, our primary brain. So the way we get around this is to build into the concept of our productivity and organization systems, the idea of being more relaxed, more playful, more joyful. And this is part of the reverse engineering process. We have to define the end goal first, so that when we get more organized, get more productive, and our life starts to become the way we want it, we don't squander this newfound capability with more stress, more worry, and more things that weigh us down. Okay, so this brings us full circle back to the idea of reverse engineering the future. We're going to figure out how to portray a future that is ideal. We're going to figure out how to get organized and productive so that we can bring it into existence. We're going to use a concept called the second brain to offload some of the things that our organic brain is not so very good at. And by doing this, we are going to invent our own future. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say today. I'm going to have more info to come, but please, if you're interested in coming along for the ride and being a part of this process, then join in on the Facebook group called Getting Things Done. Looking forward to seeing you there, and I'll talk to you in the next video.